It's really difficult when there's so much stuff going on around you and the rest of your life.
Did you know that the man responsible for some of the heaviest guitar riffs in human history also builds some of the most breathtaking custom cars ever to roll out of an American garage? We are talking about James Hetfield, lead vocalist, rhythm guitarist, and co-founder of Metallica. A man who has spent decades and millions of dollars assembling a collection of rolling sculptures so extraordinary that professional car builders openly weep looking at them. Who is James Hetfield? Behind the guitar. We need to talk about who James Hetfield actually is when he puts the guitar down. Because if you think this is just a rock star buying flashy cars to sit in a garage and collect dust, you are about to be proven spectacularly wrong. Born on August 3, 1963 in Downey, California, Hetfield grew up in a household shaped by Christian Science beliefs, an absent father, and a mother who passed away from cancer when he was just 16 years old. Heavy stuff. And if you have ever wondered why Metallica's music carries such raw, unrelenting emotional weight, well, now you know. But here is what most people do not know about James Hetfield. The man is not just a car collector. He is a hands-on, grease-under-the-fingernails, custom car builder who has collaborated with some of the most legendary hot rod craftsmen in America. His passion for cars is not a hobby. It is an obsession that runs every bit as deep as his love for music. Hetfield is specifically drawn to the golden era of American automotive design, the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. The era of sweeping fenders, hand-formed aluminum panels, chopped rooflines, and mechanical drama. He does not collect cars off a dealership floor. He commissions rolling works of art, often spending years working with master builders to bring a single vision to life. He has collaborated with legendary builder Rick Dorr on multiple occasions. And if you know anything about the custom car world, you know that working with Rick Dorr is the automotive equivalent of commissioning a painting from Michelangelo. The man does not do cheap, neither does Hetfield. The garage itself, the chapel. Now let us talk about where these machines actually live. Because James Hetfield does not just park his cars in a regular garage. That would be far too ordinary for a man of this caliber. Hetfield's private garage has been nicknamed the Chapel by those who have been lucky enough to step inside it. And that name is not an accident. Walking into the chapel reportedly feels less like entering a garage and more like entering a cathedral, one that was built specifically to worship the art of the American automobile. The space is immaculate, temperature controlled, every car displayed with museum-level precision, lighting specifically designed to make the custom paintwork glow the way it deserves to glow. There are no oil stains on this floor. There is no random toolbox pushed against the wall. This is a shrine, and here is the thing that separates Hetfield's collection from the collections of other wealthy celebrities. Almost every single car in that space has a name. A real name, not a model designation, not a license plate number, an actual name chosen by Hetfield himself that reflects the personality and story of that specific machine. The total estimated value of Hetfield's collection sits somewhere between $10 and $15 million. Some estimates go higher, and frankly, when you see what is in there, you will understand why. The 1936 Ford Ayala, Custom A car that carries one of the most historically significant names in all of American custom car culture. The 1936 Ford that Hetfield commissioned is a direct tribute to the Ayala brothers, Gil and Al Ayala, two Mexican-American customizers from East Los Angeles who were absolutely instrumental in shaping the lowrider and custom car movements of the 1940s and 50s. These were men who worked with almost nothing and created absolute masterpieces. Hetfield knows his history, and this car is his way of tipping his hat to it. The build itself is a masterclass in restrained elegance. The body has been smoothed and massaged to within an inch of its life. Every seam, every crease, every unnecessary line removed until the surface flows like water. The stance is slammed low to the ground, because of course it is. The paintwork sits somewhere between midnight black and the darkest shade of charcoal you have ever seen, shifting in the light in ways that make you genuinely question your own eyes. Now, here is where Hetfield's personality comes into the build. This is not a trailer queen. This is not a car that gets pushed out for a show and then immediately wrapped back up in a blanket. Hetfield actually drives his cars, or at least, he drives them as much as a man responsible for a multi-$100 million rock band can reasonably manage. The Ayala Custom is a rolling history lesson wrapped in sheet metal. It belongs in a museum, and technically, it is in one, James Hetfield's personal museum. Estimated value sits in the range of $250,000 to $300,000. The 1953 Buick Skylark. Now, we move from raw custom culture into the world of factory glamour. The 1953 Buick Skylark. Here is something you may not know. The original 1953 Skylark was one of the first true limited edition American luxury convertibles ever produced. Buick only made 530 of them in that first year. 530. In a country of over 150 million people. That is not a production car. That is practically a hand-built special. Hetfield's example has been tastefully modified, because leaving a car completely stock would simply not be the James Hetfield way. The chrome has been selectively removed and replaced with smooth bodywork in certain areas, giving the car a cleaner, more purposeful look, while still maintaining the unmistakable presence of the original design. The interior has been retrimmed with materials that cost more per yard than most people's weekly salary. And the color. Let us talk about the color. Hetfield has an absolute gift for choosing paint that makes cars look alive. The Skylark sits in a deep, warm, almost blood-red tone that catches light differently, depending on where you are standing. You walk around this car, and it feels like the car is walking around you. What makes this car interesting in the context of Hetfield's broader collection is that it represents the moment American automotive design was at its most optimistic. 1953, the war was over. The economy was booming. Detroit was building cars that looked like they were dreaming of outer space. Hetfield connects with that energy deeply. You can feel it in every car he chooses. The 1948 Ford F1 pickup. All right, we need to take a brief detour from the glamorous world of custom coupes and convertibles to talk about possibly the most intimidating truck you will ever see in your entire life. And I do mean that. If this truck pulled up next to you at a red light, you would instinctively check that your doors were locked. Not because it looks dangerous, because it looks that serious. James Hetfield owns a 1948 Ford F1 pickup that has been so thoroughly and completely transformed from its original factory form that calling it a truck almost feels like an insult to what it has become. Ford built the original F1 as a working vehicle, a tool, something farmers and contractors could depend on to move things from one place to another without complaining. That version of this truck no longer exists. What exists now is something else entirely. This thing is a monster, a beautifully controlled, immaculately proportioned, surgically executed monster, but a monster nonetheless. And the details tell you everything you need to know about the level of craftsmanship Hetfield demands from every single build that comes out of his world. The body has been channeled and sectioned. And for those of you who are not yet fluent in hot rod terminology, do not worry, we have got you covered. Channeling means the body has been literally cut apart and lowered directly over the frame, reducing the overall height of the vehicle and creating a silhouette that looks like it was sketched by someone who had never once in their entire life been told the word no. The result is a truck that sits so low and so purposefully that it looks permanently ready to launch itself forward, whether the engine is running or not. The hood has been extended and reshaped. The exhaust exits in a manner that suggests this truck has absolutely zero interest in being quiet, polite, or apologetic about anything, which, now that I think about it, describes Metallica's entire musical philosophy across 5 decades of recorded output. So, in a very real sense, this truck is not just a vehicle. It is a 4-wheeled artistic statement that happens to have an engine in it. Hetfield has been photographed behind the wheel of this truck on multiple occasions and genuinely looks like a man who was specifically built to drive it. Estimated build value on a custom of this quality and this execution sits comfortably above $150,000, and possibly significantly higher depending on drivetrain specification. The 1934 Packard Now. Here is where the collection starts getting truly serious. And when I say serious, I mean the kind of serious that makes grown adults who build custom cars for a living go completely quiet the moment they walk into the room. The 1934 Packard in Hetfield's collection is one of those cars that makes even the most experienced professional builders stop talking mid-sentence and just stare. Not because they are being polite, because they genuinely cannot help themselves. This car commands attention the way very few objects on this planet are capable of commanding attention. Here is some context for those who did not grow up obsessing over American automotive history. Packard in the 1930s was not simply an automobile manufacturer. Packard was a declaration, a statement of absolute, unapologetic American wealth and power delivered at approximately 60 miles per hour. Presidents rode in Packards, gangsters rode in Packards, captains of industry rode in Packards. If you pulled up to any address in America in 1934 behind the wheel of a Packard, every single person within 3 city blocks already knew about it before you had finished parking. So, the foundation Hetfield started with was already extraordinary. What his builders did with that foundation is where things get genuinely remarkable. This car has been transformed into what the custom world calls a full custom, meaning virtually nothing you see on this car is the way Packard originally intended it to be. Every surface has been reconsidered. Every line has been questioned. The roof line has been dramatically chopped, a process that involves surgically removing a section of the roof pillars to lower the overall height of the cabin. When this process is executed badly, and it often is, the result looks awkward and wrong. When it is executed at the level Hetfield's team operates at, it looks like Packard designed it that way on the factory floor in 1934, and everyone else simply missed it. The overall presence of this car is genuinely intimidating. Long hood, short deck, an aggressive forward lean to the stance, and a color so profoundly dark it appears to absorb the surrounding light rather than reflect it. If this car had a factory-fitted soundtrack, it would obviously be the opening riff of Master of Puppets. No other choice exists. Estimated value sits in the range of $400,000. The 1937 Lincoln Zephyr Voodoo Priest. And now we get to one of the most dramatically named cars in the entire collection. Meet the Voodoo Priest. The 1937 Lincoln Zephyr was already one of the most aerodynamically advanced American cars of its era, straight from the factory. The original designers gave it a naturally flowing, almost organic body shape that was wildly progressive for 1937. Hetfield and his collaborators took that foundation and pushed it somewhere the original designers could never have imagined. The Voodoo Priest has been stretched, smoothed, and reshaped until it looks less like a 1930s automobile and more like a fever dream from the mind of someone who listened to far too much heavy metal as a teenager, which is presumably exactly the intended effect. The name Voodoo Priest is not accidental. There is something genuinely supernatural about the way this car looks in person. The proportions are slightly wrong in all the right ways. The surface is so smooth, it almost appears to have been carved from a single piece of material rather than assembled from panels. And the stance is so precisely dialed in that the car appears to be crouching, ready to move, even when it is parked and switched off. This car has appeared at major custom car shows and consistently stops people dead in their tracks. The estimated value sits comfortably above $350,000. The 1937 Ford Aquarius. 2 cars from 1937 in this collection, because apparently James Hetfield decided that 1937 was a particularly good year for sheet metal, and honestly, looking at the evidence, it is very difficult to argue with him. The Aquarius is a 1937 Ford that has been built to a theme, and the theme is water, movement, flow. The paintwork on this car is one of the most technically demanding custom paint jobs you will find anywhere on the planet. The color shifts from deep ocean blue to shimmering aquamarine depending on the angle and the light. And the application of the finish involve techniques that very few painters in the world are qualified to execute. Now you might be thinking, a water theme on a hot rod? That sounds a little unexpected, and you would be right. It is unexpected. That is precisely the point. Hetfield does not want cars that look like every other custom at every other show. He wants cars that make people stop, stare, and ask questions they have never asked before. The Aquarius does exactly that. The body modifications are extensive. The car has been chopped, channeled, and fitted with custom metalwork that flows continuously from front to rear without a single visual interruption. The overall effect is of something that is simultaneously from the past and from a future that has not happened yet. Estimated value above $300,000. The 1951 Mercury. If you know anything about the history of American custom cars, you already know that the 1951 Mercury holds a place of almost religious significance in the culture. James Dean drove a customized Mercury in Rebel Without a Cause. The Mercury of the early 1950s became the canvas of choice for an entire generation of California customizers. Sam Barris, the Ayala brothers, George Barris himself. These legends built their reputations on Mercuries. So, when James Hetfield acquired a 1951 Mercury and handed it to his builder with a blank check and a vision, the weight of that history sat heavily on every decision that followed. The result is a car that pays deep respect to the customs of the original era, while pushing the execution to a level that would have been technically impossible back then. The roofline has been chopped with absolute precision. The body has been leaded and smoothed in the traditional manner, because Hetfield insists on traditional techniques wherever possible. No plastic filler, no shortcuts. The stance is perfect. I do not use that word lightly. The relationship between the wheel, the arch, the rocker panel, and the ground is in a proportion that would make a mathematician emotional. Estimated value in the $300,000 range, though comparable Mercuries built to this standard have sold for considerably more at auction. The 1953 Buick Spaceship, back to Buick. And this time, things get significantly more dramatic. The 1953 Buick that Hetfield and his team built and nicknamed the Spaceship is exactly what it sounds like. This is a car that looks like it belongs in a 1950s science fiction film, specifically one where the special effects budget was significantly larger than historical averages. Buick's design language in 1953 already leaned heavily into futurism. The sweeping fenders, the dramatic chrome details, the overall sense that the designers were trying to make a car look like it was already moving while standing still. Hetfield's builders took that DNA and amplified it to a level that no longer has anything to do with restraint. The Spaceship features custom bodywork that extends and elaborates on the original Buick forms in ways that feel like natural, evolutionary steps, until you stand back and realize that no actual evolution occurred here. Every single modification was a deliberate creative decision made by human beings who were very, very good at their jobs. The paint is a combination of silver, white, and pearl that genuinely does make the car look like it was manufactured somewhere other than Earth. Estimated value above $350,000, and worth every single cent. The 1936 Ford Roadster. The 1936 Ford Roadster in Hetfield's collection represents perhaps the purest expression of traditional hot rod culture in the entire garage. While many of his other builds lean into the heavily sculpted show-quality custom tradition, this 1936 Roadster is built in a style that connects directly to the earliest days of hot rodding in Southern California. The dry lake racers, the Bonneville speedrunners, the guys who built cars in their driveways with hand tools and absolute determination. The proportions are aggressive and uncompromising. The stance is low and mean. The engine is exposed and proud rather than hidden behind custom bodywork, because in this style of build, the engine is part of the visual statement. The color is a deep, rich, almost jewel-like tone, the kind of red that makes you feel slightly warm just looking at it on a cold day. What makes this car special in the context of the collection is that it feels the most personal. If the more elaborate customs in the collection represent Hetfield the rock star, the showman, the arena performer, then this Roadster represents Hetfield the California kid who fell in love with the raw, mechanical honesty of a hot rod built with nothing but passion and skill. Estimated value between $400,000 and $500,000 for a build of this caliber and provenance. The Skyscraper, the crown jewel. The single most legendary car in James Hetfield's entire collection is a 1936 Auburn boat-tail Speedster Custom that was built in collaboration with master builder Rick Dorr, and it carries the name Skyscraper. Now, let me give you the full weight of what that name means. The Skyscraper won the prestigious America's Most Beautiful Roadster Award, known in the custom car world simply as the AMBR, at the Grand National Roadster Show. This is the single most coveted award in all of American custom car culture. It has been given out since 1950. Winning it is the automotive equivalent of winning an Academy Award, except harder, because at least at the Oscars, everyone is competing in the same year. Rick Dorr and James Hetfield built the Skyscraper over a period of years. The 1936 Auburn was chosen as the foundation because of its already dramatic boat tail body shape, a long, swooping tail section that tapers to a point at the rear, giving the car an almost maritime quality, as if it were designed to cut through water rather than air. Everything that follows from that starting point is extraordinary. The body has been massaged and extended until the Auburn's already long proportions become something bordering on cinematic. The paintwork is a custom mixed tone, again, because of course it is, that shifts and breathes in a way that makes the car look different in every photograph. The interior is a bespoke environment of handcrafted leather, polished metal, and period-correct detail work, executed with a precision that would embarrass most Swiss watchmakers. The skyscraper is not just a car, it is a manifesto. It is James Hetfield saying, loudly, clearly, and without any apology whatsoever, that the American custom car tradition is a legitimate and serious art form that deserves to stand alongside painting, sculpture, and music as a genuine expression of human creativity. And here is the thing that makes this car unlike anything else in the collection. Hetfield did not build the skyscraper to sit in the chapel and be admired behind a velvet rope. He built it to compete, to stand in front of judges at the most important custom car show in America and be evaluated on its merits. And it won. It actually won. The estimated value of the skyscraper sits above $1 million, though honestly, putting a dollar figure on a car that won the AMBR feels slightly beside the point. This machine is beyond price. James Hetfield's extraordinary, jaw-dropping, genuinely one-of-a-kind custom car collection. A collection built not by a man trying to spend his rock and roll money on status symbols, but by a man with a genuine, lifelong, deeply personal obsession with the art of the American automobile. From the history-honoring Ayala tribute to the AMBR-winning skyscraper, every single car in this collection tells a story. And every story connects back to the same man who once stood in a garage in Northern California with his best friend Lars Ulrich and decided they were going to be the heaviest band in the world. He achieved that. And then he went and built some of the most beautiful cars anyone has ever seen. Not bad for a kid from Downey, California.